And we are back again and again and again. um, well, that's dope. So we even kind of know the builder for the next one.
Oh yeah, I
Nice.
worked for pretty much her whole family. So yeah, they're good people. And they're fun to work with.
That's exciting. Um, I want to say hats off for the amount of work you put into like entertaining us while we were down there. I was
But
not like I was not
dude,
expecting any of that.
now had to
Yeah,
have a
Chad,
good.
you had like a full agenda for like the first week. Everything was laid out. It was perfect. It was cool.
Yeah, it
No,
was a very chill agenda, but like an agenda nonetheless, man. It was like, then we're gonna go here for dinner because that's cool, and then we're gonna do that, and it just was perfect.
it's kind of one of those things where I knew it was different from what you guys are used to, and then at the same time, it's maybe more for you, Sean, like a little bit of a culture shock. So
I liked it. um, that Trimtex house was unbelievable. The
Scott,
so what would you call that? Waffle ceilings? Like what kind of ceilings would you call that?
Coffered ceiling.
Coffered ceilings.
Yep.
Yeah. And then just like everything was Trimtex. So just like for a little bit of backstory for everybody, this house is basically the other big drywaller where you are.
Yeah.
So this kind of goes back to that whole community thing, but you guys are damn near working together out there, is what it sounds like. You trade jobs off, and like it's very positive between the two of you, at least it seems.
Oh yeah.
Um, so then this guy buys some property at the right price and then kind of builds a house on it. The entire house, all the trim is all Trimtex. All the corner bead is like specialty Trimtex. That downstairs, the theater room, like that was
Amazing.
unbelievable to see. Unbelievable,
A lot of work went into that house.
man.
Yep. He spent I think he said he's got 3 years just in planning and designing all the trim tech stuff and actually doing it. Of course, obviously he was, running a drywall company at the same time, so it's kind of hard to come home and stuff. But yeah, he put a lot of thought and work into it. And I mean, I sit there and look at some of the stuff I do, and I was like, I think it's pretty great, but it's like he's one that got me into it, and then he's a true artist. And yeah, the sad thing is you'll never see his work because he's not on media. He really doesn't get it, but I guess. But yeah, he's got quite the business. I mean, he's out there doing hotels and crazy. Like what was it? Last summer, I went up to Wisconsin to help him out. They had, I think it was like 18,000 sheets of drywall to hang finish, and they trimmed it out, old cabinets. I mean, they done all kinds of stuff, and he just keeps adding on to what he can do. And he's kind of like all of us, an open mind, and he's like, we can do it, let's do it.
Yeah, and I mean, if you give the average person like here's a house and I want trim text everywhere, it'll look stupid because like to try and ram that much, like if you had to pick every stick in that house as like a you have to put this in here, nobody would make it look that good because it would just be too much everywhere. But like the way that he's like made all the ceilings and all the step downs from everything and like all the pillars, and I think if you saw the product in the box still, you would be like, this is a ridiculous amount of trim text for a house. But then when you
Oh,
go in there, you're like, this is all very, it all fits great. It it really wasn't too much. It was just like the perfect amount to have that awe.
I mean, it catches your eye, but at the same time, it's not overpowering either. But it's just like, wow. I mean, that's just very creative, and everything transitions and it matches. I mean, it's not like, oh, I got something over here and I got something over there. It's just, yeah, it all goes together and it works out great.
When he took me behind the bar and he looked up and he was like, the tissue paper, but I had seen the sample in your garage, I would never have known what that was. I would have I couldn't have told you what I thought that would have been worth if I hadn't talked to you about it like 2 days prior to that.
Oh yeah, it's very simple, but the prep work is time consuming, but the process is simple. I mean, it's just rolling on paint. You roll on paint and then stick the tissue paper to it after you crumble it up and then paint over the top of it and boom, there you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is time consuming prepping because you get the tissue paper, you got to crumble it up and then you got to tear off you got to tear off the edges and then you crumble it up. But it just, the time it takes to crumble off the edges, or tear off the edges, that's what takes time. But no, it's a pretty cool finish. It's not for everybody, I get that, but at the same time, yeah, it's a pretty cool finish.
I'm waiting for Cam to say something. I thought you were gonna had something to say.
No, well, I didn't check out the tissue papers. I'm sitting here like regretting not admiring the tissue paper. I noticed it on the sample board, but I didn't think much of it at the bar. I didn't check it out much.
Oh, I'm so fucking nosy. Like if you're gonna do you know what I mean? When I walk into a place like that where somebody's put that kind of like effort in and workmanship in, I'm like not quite like picking up couches to look under them, but like I'm looking everywhere, dude. Man, when we walked into that theater room, our voices all changed. Like it is soundproof in there.
Oh yeah.
Like it was so cool. I like we're there's like no bouncing, I guess. Like I don't know how to explain it, but it was like we were in a box, like a soundproof box. And listening to him and Nick talk, I was just like, this is weird. It was cool though. And when he picked up those remotes, he's like, yeah, let me show you everything. I'm like, there's no fucking way he knows how to work all that. He works. He doesn't know how to run this
He doesn't
shit.
actually use this room.
No, that's the kids like Cocoa Melon room or whatever.
Yeah, him and I actually grew up together. His brother's probably like my best friend since like second grade, and then his dad's like my second dad. So yeah, it was pretty easy for us to start working together. So I mean, that all worked out great for me. Worked out great for him too. As like I said, we helped each other out. Like here in the last several months, especially with my extended workload, he's taken I think 6 new builds off me.
Yeah.
I mean, I get kickbacks, but I mean, obviously, it's just like if I couldn't do them, I would just be like, yeah, I can't do them. But now he's like, no, 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 no. It's like I want to come help you out, and then basically we're
Whoa.
keeping the drywall market between the two of us. And I mean, sometimes we both get a little overloaded, and then we'll sit here and talk after work for like an hour on the phone. It's like, oh my gosh, it's just like, yeah, it all works out in the end, and we're both happy. So, and we get along great.
I feel like you two quality wise, like that part of the thinking process are right at the same level. He's growing a huge business and you're like, I'm not doing that headache. And you kind of seem to level out at the end. But it's not like you're each other's competition. Is
Right.
like because you're not building this giant company to steal his contracts, and he's there is no like power struggle there. So it's like when your greatest enemy is your friend, like that, what a hell of a setup you got down there.
And then even when we do get called to bid on the same jobs, we'll sit there and talk about it. We actually got a third guy that we actually go back and forth with too, and then yeah, we all confer together, and it's like, hey, this is what we're going to throw in as our bid, and this is what we're going to do here, and this is what we're going to do there, and then yeah, we'll kind of decide depending on our schedules who's going to try to take the job. So who's going to put in the lowest bid? Not so much the lowest bid, but the one that makes more sense to the builders. So it's like we got a nice little scheme, I guess you would say.
Well, it's almost like a partnership. It's a community, right? Like that's the I keep saying that there is going to be this gap between 50 cents and $2 in the next 10 years, and there's going to be no gray area where there is going to be you are hiring a quality finisher or you are getting people to get it done. And there's not going to be an in between. There's going to be people that like are good at it now that get very good, or they're going to start companies and just start banging out work for cheap with like mountains of people. And I mean, when you get into that kind of a situation, I would love to see that kind of community up here where you've got like a bunch of bigger drywall companies that are all not working the market, but like talking to each other. Like slitting each other's
No,
throat for money, like you're not helping anybody doing that.
And that's
yeah, I
kind of where
really like seeing that.
he does a lot of bigger stuff. He can be more Johnny on a spot where I can't be because I'm more residential and smaller, where he's bigger, has a lot more subs. Well, he uses subs as a subcontractor, but in our area, it's kind of about availability and quality. So between the two of us, we found this happy medium where, he can provide availability, I can provide the quality, and then with the mix of us, we can do both. So it's kind of like, where can you get that?
Yeah, you can't.
Or you just can't get it. And we're doing that, and then I mean, I was talking to Allison last night a little bit about, prices and then, availability, and then, just even schedules. Like me and Scott, we're the two most expensive guys around here, but at the same time, we're the best and we're the busiest.
You sure are busy. Yeah.
But out of 2 out of 3 right now, we're the busiest. So it's like we're doing something right.
Well,
And that's kind of, he set out to do that years ago, and then I just kind of came in, 7 years ago. And then he pitched the idea to me, and then I kind of modeled everything I've been doing after what he started out doing. And then, yeah, they just kind of at some point, when I made that transition to get bigger and bigger, we came together, and it's like now it's just a beautiful thing where I mean, both very successful, and we do very good quality work. And at the same time, we're available, and everybody's happy. And then it's just same time too. It's kind of nerve wracking because at points in time like now, where it's like we're both bogged down because we got just so much stuff coming in, but that's a good problem to have.
yeah, you just call in some snow Mexicans and we just hop on a plane. The thing that I like about the two of you is that you speak to each other as equals. I never got any sort of vibe, anything other than that when you guys were together, and I was like, this is dope. Yeah, Cam, you kind of touched on that while we were down there, where you were like, you made a comment towards like, I wish I remembered more clearly, but it was like a builder was being a pain in the ass, and you were like, you know what? I'm the quality down here. Figure it out. Like your quality of work, is kind of the best in the area where you're at, right? Like,
Yeah, I had a builder that was pushing me, and I told him to go find somebody else because I knew that he wouldn't. I mean, I'm not saying there's no one else in my area doing it. There are other people, but as far as quality goes, I set mine to the highest standard, and that's what we're known for. So that's why I was referred to this guy. So, long story short, he didn't find anybody else. He waited for me, and I'm actually stalking that job tomorrow.
good for you, man. That
Yeah.
has to be a good feeling. Well, I know that it is, but I mean, for you, it has to be a good feeling as like a new company owner, where like in a very short period of time, you've established yourself truthfully, and it's at the end of the day, the trades are in control. People want to push you and step on
What
you a bit.
I was really impressed with out in Illinois how Chad and Scott, how well they got along, and that I want that to be the same situation in my area with myself and the other drywall companies, where rather than going against each other, trying to save the builder a few cents, why don't we put our heads together, raise our prices a little bit, put some more money in our pockets rather than slitting each other's throats trying to get work. There's plenty of work out there for everybody.
I mean, a steak dinner goes a long way, man. Just reach out, tell them.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, when I first started out, Scott kind of brought me in, helping him out, and there was a couple of times where I'm sitting there thinking, I was like, man, I could make more money somewhere else. But at the same time, I was like, if I don't go do this, I'll be sitting at home doing nothing. So I was like, maybe I need to listen to him because he's been doing this a lot longer than me. So listen to him, and then he never steered me wrong. And 7 years later, here we are. We're out here just killing it. And then now, Mike, the guy went out to Vegas with me there last March. You guys met him again when he came down. He's been on the last house with me. He came in there, he worked the whole week, and then he's actually doing more jobs for me tomorrow and next week. And then he's probably going to start taping houses for me. That way I can just keep moving. But yeah, he's kind of like where I was with Scott years ago, where I was just getting going and need a little bit of prop me up, and at the same time, it's a little tutelage, and he's becoming a very fine finisher, and he's enjoying the fact that he can sit there and learn from two other guys that's been doing it for, well, between me and Scott, we got about, 30, 35 years experience. And, we're both very open minded. So we're always willing to try new things and, see what's better, quicker, more qualitative. And, the young guy, he's falling into it and he's loving it. So, I mean, that's, so now we got three of us that's kind of run around together.
When you told me that he's coming in just to tape and we had that like quick conversation, I was like, that would be kind of neat. And and it was a very confusing thing to me. And then Umbrella, on Nick's podcast with Teak, they talked about maybe we were all going to go fresco that house with him. He ended up doing it, a little bit of it. He said he did a good job. But he called me last week and was like, how do you feel about just coming and running the auto taper for a day? And I was like, I would fucking love that. So he paid me a daily rate, a good daily rate. And he's got 2 helpers. And we pre-filled, taped, installed corner bead, coated the corner bead, and did the butts in a day. Just smashed it. And then I got to go home. I just got to play with the auto taper all day and then leave. What a fucking awesome experience that is. So like,
that sounds like a dream,
buddy. Yeah, and I didn't mean to like fanboy him the next day, but I was like, that was awful fun. I'll do that anytime ever. Just let me know. And I mean,
and then on his side too, it's a huge stress reliever because that's, taping a house is the hardest part.
Yeah.
To me anyways, is after taping, everything's just easy for me.
Because I work alone, tape day always turns into 2 days.
Yeah, I remember when I first got off on my own, occasionally the guy I was subbing for, he would have a taper tape the house out for me, and it would get me so much further ahead. Of course, I didn't have I was taping everything by hand and still finishing by hand at that point, but it was huge.
Oh yeah. And then once all the tapes are on properly, you can just run, especially now, like with the boxes and stuff. Like you don't need to pay somebody a good wage on a daily rate to run boxes or like coat corner bead, right? That doesn't make any sense. But yeah, calling in an assist for tape day, brilliant. Totally brilliant.
Like, yeah, we got a big house coming up. It's a little over 400 sheets. I got Scott. He's gonna go hang it. He's gonna have his guys come hang it. And then I told him, I was like, I can't get to it right off the bat. So if you got time, just like go ahead and have him tape it too. And he said, yeah, no problem. I was like, good. That's gonna save me 3 days. And his guys, they'll do it in a day and a half. So I was like, yeah, because they're gonna bring like 5 or 6 guys. Where me, it's just 2 or 3 of us. So
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, go ahead. And then when I get there, I just walk in there and start running boxes and throwing beads on, whatever. They're gonna go in there, cover the floors, do all that for me, tape it, and then I just gotta walk in and do all the easy stuff. It's great.
I got into sort of similar situation this week. A contractor offered to hang the job for me, and typically I'd prefer to hang my own work, but right now we're swamped. And I was like, you know what? You guys can go ahead and hang it. It'll save me a couple days. It'll take me a little bit longer to tape it, but at the same time, I don't have to hang it. So sometimes it's worth it.
Those no
let somebody
coats
else do it.
look gnarly in the
How about that?
dude. I was like, the way that
Bro.
kind of arches like this, I'm like, that might actually sit properly. It's on such a fucking it's on such a radius.
You wouldn't even be able to stand up. It's like a 6-foot ceiling there.
Yeah.
I looked at it and I looked at the builder and he said, no, look at me. He said, I already told him I don't guarantee anything about this. The house is it was built in 1922, so it's over 100 years old. Obviously not on a solid foundation. They've repaired it. I think they're working on the 3rd time they're repairing the foundation on it. So there was no expectations of that being straight. So what I did, I just flat taped it. I took my
Okay.
pool trowel today and I rounded it
That's
because like
so smart.
once there was no putting straight flex or anything in there to make it straight. So just taking it and rounding it out a little bit. I put one coat on it today. I think after another coat, it'll really dress it up. But it's looking all right.
Well,
Yeah,
then
sometimes I got a builder who will do like a barreled ceiling,
Mhm.
and you really tape that unless you want to. I call it cutting out paper dolls with paper tape. You got to cut little slits in and do that. So a lot of times what I'll
Mhm.
do, I'll just buy the fuse and I'll just cut it in all the way around, and then kind of like a flat tape, and I'll coat it in. And then after I sand, I'll just caulk it in, and then I use a. I'm not going to use the brand name, but I use a nice, easy, spreadable caulking that'll hold. And I've had several houses over the last 5 years that it's always held. So I mean, caulking's a wonderful thing for drywallers in certain situations. So yeah,
you
it's so
know,
funny. It's like people sit there is like, "You're a drywaller. Why do you have a case of caulking in your truck?" And I was like, "Well, sometimes you just need it."
because it doesn't crack when it moves. Yeah.
Brand name, it flexes. So yeah, I mean, it's a great thing, kind of like the flex dry tool, right?
Yeah, right. That was a lot of fun too. I gotta bring that up for it. Like when we went out west, we had a bunch of places that we could have used Corey's Tech Dry, and then we didn't fucking have one. So we like, we figured it out. And then this time, I think I messaged everybody where I was like, make sure, like, we got to have them on site because I'm not bringing mine. And there wasn't a single fucking place to use it. Like that, yeah, that you would need to use it. Like we could have like, been silly, but I mean, I didn't have a single place where things were cramped up. Like that one wall with the electrical boxes, there was quite a bit on that. Like, but I mean, like that was like a 4x2 square, and it was flat on a huge wall. Like, so I kind of was sitting there like, man, I wanted to make some content for Corey. I forgot his shirt, right? So whenever that flex dry thing came out, who did that? Do you remember? It was Nick, right? I don't
I
remember.
think it was Nick. Yeah, it had to have
Yeah.
been. It wasn't me.
I was like, we got to roll with this. And then he spent all that time on the video, man. Like that was one of my favorite parts of the trip, fucking with Corey.
Ah, dude, we were all supposed to post it at the same time. And I think he was the only one who posted it.
Fucking slept right through it. Yeah. Man, that one morning, like I don't even, that was a disaster. I don't know how I got to where I got to, but I like woke up.
You're talking about Friday morning when you woke up to the camper going to get dumped.
Yeah, dude. I like woke up, looked around. I was like, well, it's like really bright for 5 in the morning.
It's
It's like,
fine.
maybe we all slept in. And then I checked my phone. No, no. You guys were really nice for letting me sleep. I definitely needed it.
Nah, we just
My
want
back's still hurting from carrying your
No
weight.
kidding. Oh yeah, like physically. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a little guy. I'll tell you that. It's very rare that I'll have that much fun. Where it's like eating chicken
On a
nuggets in the back
Thursday.
on a Thursday night. Yeah.
Nothing, right?
And we got out to that pool hall. We met the Canadians.
The
Man,
Truckers Pub, hanging out with Canadians in the Truckers Pub.
yeah, that was wild. That was a steak night, right? Yeah, that was a great night.
Yeah, that was steak night. No, that was shit. I can't remember.
Thought it
I think it
No,
was
was.
yeah, we
steak night.
Yeah.
went to the next night.
What,
Yeah, the steak is actually good guys, and we went home. But yeah, the next night we went to the hibachi, and then we drove separately, family, and then we was like, oh, we'll stop over here, and then we stopped over there, and I was like, we'll go over here too, and then
That was Nick's birthday night, is when it was.
yeah, and he got to be the sober birthday.
when Nate was like, "Happy birthday, Nick." To message it. And then instead of deleting the post, he's like, apparently my friends are all assholes. And it's not Nick's birthday. What a good time. Yeah, I mean, I have a hard time looking back at anything that wasn't a blast the whole time. And it seems like that happens every time we go somewhere. It's just, rolling laughs. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
laughing until your stomach hurts.
Dude, when I woke up in the morning, I was like, man, I think I did something. Like when I was coughing or like whatever, I was like, I've done something to my abdomen. Like this is not good. And then I went on my phone and I laughed at something and I was like, oh my God, my like diaphragm is sore from crying laughing for like 2 days straight. That was a good time.
Oh yeah.
The other thing that we did is we went to that Fresco house.
Yeah.
So how many board feet was that? Like it's an entire house that you did.
I can't remember the board feet.
Yeah,
To be
it was
honest,
big.
260 sheet house, 9 foot walls, main floor and the basement, and then ceilings upstairs. But yeah, it was let's just say 260 times 50 on average. So about what? I don't know.
A really lot.
Yeah.
And we only saw the main like living area of the house.
Mhm.
Wasn't every room the same color?
Yeah, like all the walls, main floor and the basement were Burns charcoal, and then the ceilings on the main floor are all Patterson snow. It was definitely an undertaking, especially that ceiling on the main floor. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Like, where do you start and stop? Is there's an angled room and then got all these little inlets and hallways, and they're just like, man, I spent 2 days on that ceiling. I was like, whoosh.
You would have to like
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that ceiling was huge. Like it was a
Man.
big area that was split up to like if you were to look at that drawn out on a piece of paper.
Oh,
That's
It
a
yeah.
went
It was
crazy.
definitely, at that point in time, I had done Fresco for about 2 or 3 years, and I've only done accent walls. And then guy called me up and he's like, I want to do a whole house. And I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, what's the price between doing drywall and paint versus what you want to do? And I gave him a price, and then he got his drywall and paint price, and he's like, well, you're several thousand cheaper, and which I was still sitting there thinking, I was like, man, I'm gonna make a ton of money on this. But we did spend a lot of time on it, but at the same time too, we got a little bit of leadway from the homeowner as far as like we had other jobs going on. But yeah, we knocked it out, and yeah, it was gorgeous. Oh my God, it's gorgeous.
Man. Especially seeing it being lived in. Like they had the floating shelves and they had the trim everywhere and the floor was finished. Like it was a home that people were living in and everything was frescoed. I loved that. It was like nice light gray. I thought that it was the Hesher port, to be honest. But it's when you said it wasn't, I was like, when I tell this in the future, it will be.
Yeah, it was the next year, but yeah, it was definitely a huge achievement, and that's for sure. I'm pretty proud of that one.
And it did. It turned out fantastic. The other thing was I was kind of concerned that having three separate people that do fresco, everything would be different. Like your techniques would be different. And it all turned out pretty much the same.
Yeah,
Like there weren't giant differences, which was really cool.
man, it might change with lighter colors, but we all had a pretty dark color to work with. But I know like my lighter colors sometimes it gets a little more veiny, but sometimes I get a little more aggressive with my second coat. But yeah, I don't know how you guys really do your second coats. I really didn't pay attention too much, so
Mhm.
all having fun and going at it, and they look great. So I mean, why not?
Yeah.
But I remember when I went down to Albuquerque back in I think it was 2018. Uh, they had some areas where they got a little aggressive on the second coat where they thinned their mud down a little bit thinner, and then homeowners didn't like it, didn't thin it down as much, and it looks totally different. So I mean, it's kind of on mud consistency, and then some point too, it's like how much pressure you putting into taking off your mud on your second coat too. But
Yeah.
at the same time too, like you just said, for the most part, to the common person, and it just it all looks about the same
Mm-hmm.
in every square inch, all three coats. I mean, it's it's easier for us to pick it apart.
Yeah, I mean, to
That
the average person, though, yeah, you wouldn't even know. Yeah.
I
Okay,
mean,
we
like,
got about 7 minutes here.
yeah, I was going to go back on the Fresco house. It's like I can sit there and show you parts where like my other guys had done work, where I done work, and how different it was. But it's like, in a sense, too, couldn't really see it until I pointed out the like
Mm-hmm.
aggressive conservativeness. So yeah, just everybody's different.
And but from
Oh,
20 feet, it's the same kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. To a point, some people have their own finishing touch, but for the most part, it's all the same. It's all Fresco, man.
It's all
I feel
Fresco,
like that's what
baby.
I feel like that's what Nick would say about it.
Right.
It's all Fresco, man. Don't stress it.
Um, yeah, so I mean that was tons of fun, guys. It's a big thank you to you, Chad. That was something else. I think that kicked off something that is snowballing pretty quick here. Um, yeah, I guess big shout out to the Hollywood and big shout out to Fresco Harmony. That's incredible, man. And I think we're all down to do it again, right? Like
Oh
that's
yeah.
kind of the other fun part of this is if people start making sample boards and they show them to builders and the builders are showing up with sizable sites, you don't have to turn them down because you can't do them. Just speak up, fly a couple of people in, we'll show you how to do it, and we'll have the next adventure, right? Like I think that's going to be a lot of fun. There's like a line of people that want to be at the next one, and I never would have thought that to be a reality.
and yeah, like the biggest thing for me was when we was doing that Fresco house was I was sitting there thinking to myself, I was like, I got really lucky on timing and schedule, how I could string it out and let it take that long. I was like, if I would do this consistently, I was like, there is no way I could like sustain that kind of schedule. But it's like after we done what we done over there at the Hollywood, it's like, it's like you said, keep collaborating and doing stuff like that. And it's like, it's like it'd be a big thing for Nick, be a big thing for us, and be a big thing for the people that's getting the product. I mean, it's a pretty good deal, I think. I mean,
Well, and it would have taken you what, a month? We got it done in a week and a half. Like,
oh yeah,
you
and
know,
we no taking it easy.
yeah, and like I
Sean,
said,
I might have a 1 week Fresco project coming up, like beginning of next year.
I mean, I'll
I
check my
just went and
calendar.
did it.
We'll be in.
But yeah, it's covering wood paneling.
Yeah, done that too.
So
Dude, I'm down.
yeah,
I'm down all day.
I'm
cool.
only
Well,
Does anybody have any shout outs or anything they want to do? We got 4 minutes. Perfect.
everybody's nice and quiet. No, thanks again, Chad, for everything, putting the trip together. It was a lot, man. Um, Thanks to Nick for coming out and spending a few days with us. That was super cool.
Yeah, big shout out to Nick Harmon.
Sean, I feel like you did a lot of the work putting all this together too. So shout out
Definitely
to
the
you.
next one. I grabbed this next one by the throat, buddy. It's
Oh
like
yeah, you've got the next one.
this is yeah.
Don't
It
worry,
is.
I'll do the work. Yeah, you
I
just
know.
get everything set up and I'll get out there.
And honestly, I'm so happy to do it. Like as soon as there was whispers about another huge adventure, I was like, "Yep," and just started working on it. Like maybe people will feel bad and we'll get it. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm going to put a considerable amount of work into this, and it's turning out dope, man. Things are happening so organically, and like people jumping on, and then
Yeah,
we
like
found.
finding that house.
I was just about to say the house where it was like, where are we going to stay and how is it going to be perfect? And not only is it $100 a person a night or whatever, which is cheaper than a shitty motel, but it's like everything's just perfect, dude. It's everything's lining up. Yeah. I think quarterly we should be doing something like this. And at
Right.
very least. We'll do it full time next year in 2 years. And you guys can tank your business hanging out with me. Awesome.
Kind of excited about. I've never been skiing, so hopefully I don't kill myself.
Yeah, me neither. You know, I'm having thoughts about that where I'm like, I'm gonna roll my ankle and be done. So we'll see. We're gonna take it easy, I think.
No boarding with the 10-year-olds and like break a leg or
on the bunny hill. They'll be like, that enormous man might have problems because he's not doing very well.
Gravity is not helping that guy.
No, no, that's all right. Thanks to everybody. The great Fresco Harmony adventure wrap up. That was so perfect, man. And here's to the next one. Be humble, treat everyone the same, and do your fucking job.